Mike, you play many roles, and I think most of us know you as, or here, know you as a writer and as a speaker, but I think you do many other things in the background or in other grounds. A coach, a tutor, and spiritual teacher in all different places. Which role would you say fits you the most?
That's going to be a short answer to the first question, I'm afraid. None of them, really.
So you spend most of your life doing things that you don't like, or?
No, I'm a classic Gemini.
Okay, which means?
I like to juggle. I like the variety.
Okay.
Some of the time. But the classic Gemini has the other side too, which is the introversion and the quietness and the solitude, doing nothing. So I try and, yeah.
Do you ever do nothing?
Yes, I do. I sit and stare out the window quite a lot, actually. I kind of have to.
Physically
You're going to say there's that doing nothing, aren't you? Yes. Yes, no, I do. I walk and I look and I gaze and I stare and have very quiet moments. Now, if you talking about doing nothing, which means not thinking, which is doing nothing, those are rare moments, but they do happen. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I can imagine that with the number of books that you write, and each book has content to move us, to make us think, to challenge where we are at, you must be doing a fair bit of thinking. What inspires you? Where do you get your thoughts from? By observing? By listening?
No, someone told me 30 odd years ago, and I kind of believed it then, and it was that everything you need to know, you already know. It's already within you. It's already within your consciousness as an individual. So not long after that, I started realizing that I already know what I need to know, but the only way to know it is to give it. It's like a spiritual principle. The only way to know love is to be love and allow yourself to be loving. And that's not kind of taught in our society. We tend to learn to go and try and get it, acquire it. The myth of romantic love, as you know. So it's the same principle, and all you need to know, all the wisdom is already there. And so then you start to realize that you're getting clues from the world. You're getting clues from wiser people. You're getting clues from people further down the line. You're getting clues from people who are a little bit more realized than you are. And so you don't allow yourself to be impressed by it, but you take your cue from it and use it as a signpost to look inside yourself. And so that's all I've done for 20 years in a sense, and that's why I write books. It's really not for other people. It's really for me to see, to get clarity around what I know. Now ultimately it becomes too much because you're expanding, you're going into expansion, all these ideas and all these messages, and it's so tiring, and then as a writer you have to go over it again and again and again, refine it and edit it and so on. But all of those processes make you go deeper in yourself, not as you're doing it, but usually when you're not doing it. You know, when you're walking, when you're staring out the window, when you're looking at a tree, when you're just contemplating nothing in particular. You're allowing things to coagulate and to crystallize within your consciousness. And then when you sit down later, and sometimes when you sit down later, no, nothing, time for a cup of tea, do something else. And then when you sit down later, then it just suddenly starts to... So there's no formula other than this balance of conscious creation and consciously doing, allowing just being on the inside. For me, anyway, for me.
So I've rarely seen you with a notebook, gathering ideas or getting the clues from the world.
No.
So how does it work? Do you get a feeling when something interesting? Are you really interested? Is it that you get an aha moment? Is it that you get you thinking about formulating something? You hear someone formulating in a certain way. You say, "Oh, that's it." How does it work? Is it kind of a feeling?
Is it a feeling? It's everything, really, and it's a variety of things for me, and it's different for different people who are trying to create anything. But for me, if you give me a 3-line topic right now, then I can take that away and I'll use that as a window, and I'll go through that window and I'll look at everything behind that, the meaning, its connection, how it works, in the context of consciousness. I'm really only interested in understanding consciousness. So that's because I don't need to read too much of what other people think. I need to hear my own thoughts. And as I hear my own thoughts, my thoughts come from a progressively deeper place within me. And sometimes it's not thinking, it is just a feeling. And the feeling crystallizes into something that I can put on paper. So for me, there's no special formula. But, yeah.
And consciousness, would you say that is something that we can understand or something that we can experience?
Well, the paradox of self-understanding is you don't really can ever, for me now, but not, I wouldn't have said this 20 years ago, you can't ever understand yourself. You understand what you create and how you create. And that's why creativity, creating, is the fundamental activity of consciousness. It's the primary activity. Everyone's doing it all the time. But of course, the quality of their creation, most of the time of our creation, let me include myself in this, is not that good. For various reasons, like the beliefs we've absorbed and so on. They influence our creation. So when I'm going within, if you like, I'm not understanding me, I'm understanding what I'm doing at a deeper and deeper and deeper and more subtle level. So I'm understanding why I'm feeling like this, why this emotion is arising, why I'm avoiding that, or talking to them and not them. And so I'm understanding all of that. But who's doing the understanding? It's me, the self. So it's like the eye can't see the eye, the finger can't touch the finger. So I don't understand me, but I understand how I operate. This whole place exists to help people refine the way they operate, the way they create in their consciousness. And so pure consciousness creates a pure creation. And of course that's incredibly powerful and very essential. It's not a great big long book of 20 chapters. It's just this ability to be present and still and respond with the minimum amount of energy, both thought and physical, to whatever is going on in front of you. So
that's interesting.
Sometimes it's called clarity.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what would your last book look like then?
The last book would be...
One word.
Would be no book, I don't think. The last book is no book. That's a good chapter title, actually. Thank you. The last book is no book. That's very good.
Because I think it takes a fair amount of courage as a creator to take us on your journey. Because if you say that your books is about discovering your inner being, then your first book is the beginning of your journey, and the book today is further down the path.
Yeah.
Unless it's a different aspect that
that's
you,
okay. Yeah, get that.
And so, would you say that courage plays a big part in your life? What would you say plays a big part? Is it the love of truth? Is it courage? Is it determination? What is it that plays a big part that allows you to remain true to your...
No, I'm just resolving my karma, really.
Yes?
There's two answers to the question. Truth has always been my passion. I've always wanted to know what is real, what is true. That's what's driven me since I was a kid, really. So I was reading psychological books when I was a teenager, not understanding them, but I was interested in that area. And so I've always been in pursuit of that until I realized it's not out there, it's within yourself. Hence the expression. My expression is the form of books. But there's also another side to that. And the other side to it is my karma for many, many years was misleading people. My creativity was misleading people. I was using my fundamental purpose for being here, for acting, creativity, to take people down the wrong path. And
that's
so
when you were in advertising.
That's when I spent 10 years in the whole world of advertising and marketing. And so what I do now is like there's an inner drive, there's an impulse within me which is saying, clarify, clarify everything, which is really me trying to put right. I'm not thinking this consciously, but as I reflect on my journey, I can see that's what I've been doing, is to try and correct everything, try and bring everything back in line. And if you look at everything I've written or say or do or what, it's really all about that. It's to help people. I don't change people. I don't really coach people. I just put up signposts as I see things just now. I might not see them like this in 2 years, probably won't, but I put them up as I see them now, and I've said, have you looked this way? Have you looked it down this way? And see for yourself. That's why I often say, don't believe a word I say.
That was, it's actually connected to a question I wanted to ask you. When we look at our purpose in life, and you were saying that it is about creating, it is about giving, it's about being. And your way of doing this is through writing and presenting, sharing. What difference or transformation do you feel that it brings in people's lives?
Haven't got a clue. I don't know. I just don't know, and I don't kind of presume to know. I mean, I sometimes get people come up to me and say they've read this book, they've read that book, that helped me a lot, that helped me a lot. But ultimately, if I'm very honest, as I said to someone about 30 minutes ago, the book doesn't do anything, you do it. And so all the words on the page help you do is create a greater clarity in your own consciousness. They pull together, maybe, connect things for you in your own consciousness, and you have your own aha moment. So they serve to do that. Now, if there's 1,000 people in the room and they all read the same book, then that service, if you like, will happen in different ways, at different times, at different speeds, to different depths, on different issues, to different people. And so there's no way of me knowing.
Okay, let me ask the question a different way.
Another way, you're going to come at it from the... I know. It's called creative questioning. Yeah, I don't stand a chance, do I?
No, but if you were to write a book that actually had no impact at all, that left people feeling that was nice, you probably would challenge yourself in the next book that you write. There's something that drives you. You're not writing novels.
No.
If you were just the writer that wanted to be creative and exploring ideas in a different way, but you exploring them in a way that questions us, and I think clarity is one of the things. But when you say, well, that book, and I think that one of your best-selling book is The 7 Ahas of Highly Enlightened Souls. And in that book, you are very clear and you offer things that are very pertinent for everybody. But you still carried on to another book. And maybe how would you describe your book? Is that a mirror? Do you want a poke? Would you call it a poke, a mirror, a textbook? It's definitely not entertainment. I think that if it was just someone would say to you, gosh, Mike, you're so entertaining over and over again, you probably would say, I'm missing my purpose, right?
No, so, okay.
Yes?
Yeah.
So when I say what transformation, not a personal transformation, but you want to move people, what is it?
I don't want to do anything.
No?
No.
Really?
No. In the sense that I want people to have a certain response.
Yeah.
No.
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 A certain
because
response,
I know
no, but a response.
Yeah, well, the example you gave, the 7 Ahas, the reason why that was and still is popular is that it meets where people are at the most, where more people are at right now. Yeah, in other words, they go, oh, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
In other words, they're just recognizing what they already know, so it's meeting them at a certain level. But if you ask people who've read later books, they go, God, especially the book about love, oh, that was really, whoa. Don't know what to do. I only got a third of the way through that one, and that's because it is deeper. Thank you. It is deeper, and it is more, if you like, there's more involved in it. So I don't know who exactly is meeting those books, what state. If I thought about that, then all I'm doing is putting on paper where I'm at in order to clarify for myself primarily. But at the same time, I know it is helping people because I get that feedback.
Yeah.
But it's not what I'm doing. It's not why I'm doing it in that sense, primarily. I want to be of service, but I know that the real service is me waking up.
And where are you at?
And the writing. And where am I at?
Are you awake? Yes.
Just switch the camera off for a second. Cameras and microphones off. If you talk to my 20 years, 30 years ago, I was fast asleep. But now I'm incredibly awake, and you better watch your next question.
I know. Don't I know? When I said to you at the beginning that I trust you because you give an honest feedback, and somehow, sometimes the feeling is that your head goes before your heart.
Yeah.
But you wrote about love, and when you write about love, there's a feeling of deep understanding and moving away from the fact that, it's not an emotion only, that it is a feeling. So how would you describe that balance of head and heart? Because you spend a lot of time in your head, but you're still a very kind and
thank you.
caring person.
That's very generous of you.
So how does that work? And you're quite detached from what your books are doing. So you would say maybe you're quite disconnected from your heart, but you're not.
No, thank you. I think you just answered the question yourself.
No.
Look, for me, this whole head-heart separation is an illusion. The head and the heart are not separate. Consciousness is one, and in consciousness there is, if you like, a mind, and the mind is there to do practical things, sort of things that happen more on a material level, things that express outwardly. The heart, if you like, for me, is at the core of consciousness. So I am my heart. And sometimes I need to spring out and create a mind and do a lot of thinking. So it's not that I'm one or the other, or it's not that I need to balance the two, it's that I need to be in the right inner space in the right time. So there's this nice idea that whenever you're emotional, it means you're thinking too much. Now you wouldn't, if you said, you wouldn't say that to, you wouldn't say that to most people wouldn't get that. But if you notice, emotion always follows thought. Yeah, in other words, it's called a reaction. Before the emotion is created, you're thinking, don't like it, what's going on, what's happening, what's going on? And so then comes the emotion. So it's when you're in your heart that the feeling comes first, and then comes the thought. So sometimes we might call this intuition. You get a feeling about something, and then you take that feeling and you crystallize it into a real multi-dimensional thought. Maybe that comes into a sentence with a beginning and a middle and end. So you've come from inside out. You're operating from the core of your being. Now, it's not that when you're operating from outside in that you're out, and it's not. It's just something outside has triggered your habit of thinking a certain way, and from that thinking comes, oh my God, what's going on? And here comes the emotion. Do you see the difference?
Yeah, definitely.
And so that's really challenging for many people.
If you were to define then consciousness, would you say that to be fully conscious is to be fully at the heart?
To be fully conscious is to be able to be in the right inner space at the right moment, in the right scene, whatever is going on. You know, some scenes, they require a lot of practical thinking. So you come out and you A, B, C, D, E, F, G, if I can say that. But it's not that you've left your heart. You know, if you do that with heart, as they say, if you do that with love, with what's at the core of you, then the people who are receiving your A, B, C, D, thinking practical things, when they receive it, they'll be much more open to receiving it. If that makes sense.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I ask you to define love then?
Love is what you are. It's what we are at the core. Next question.
No. You wrote a whole book about it.
All right, here we go. Love is a vibration. Love is a label for a vibration of consciousness.
Yeah, and connecting it with purpose.
Let's do just connecting with consciousness first. Love is a vibration. It's a, energy vibrates, and so low vibration, high vibration. So love is the highest vibration of your consciousness. When you're in a loving state, you're not thinking, "Oh, this is love." You're just in that state.
Yes.
Yeah. And so you're not looking for it. You don't feel as if you need it, or you don't have it, or you have to get it, or it's not. It's just what you are in your most natural state. It's just that state is so far from where we've come, or where we are now, sorry. It's so far, I can't even conceive of that for most people because of all the beliefs we've absorbed about it. It's like a jungle in there, you know. And so this is love for me, and one way to say it. Now you only know that when you are giving that away, when that's expressing as something from inside out and you're giving in the context of relationship, and that's your purpose. That is the creative process. That is your purpose.
So the way you define love, you could have defined peace as well.
Vibration. Yeah.
Right? So what is love in comparison to peace?
Well, together, peace, love, joy, at the very core of your consciousness, they're not separate. They're not. We tend to talk about them as if they're separate things. There's love, and there's peace, and there's joy, and there's freedom. This is the whole values thing. We try and make objects out of values. Oh, you've got so many good values.
Yeah, good
but
point.
values are not things. Value is something you do. You ascribe value. And it's only love that allows you to ascribe value.
So it moves you.
You are it, moving. You are moving. You're giving value. You're not thinking, oh, now I'm giving value. You're just doing that. And that might look like care, or it might look like empathy. It might look like respect to the other. But if you respect someone, threaded in the energy of respect is you ascribing value to that person. You know, but you're not thinking it. You just are in that state, and that's love in action. If that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah? Yeah? There's more in the book.
Yeah. It's true, actually. Yes.
In some of the books, you've offered us some CDs with meditation commentaries.
Yes.
Very useful and very helpful.
Okay.
Last one doesn't have a CD.
No.
The one that you've just done about beliefs.
No.
There is it's a good tool to help us get there, because somehow you talked about the jungle. The jungle is there. We're listening. We want to read and understand what you're saying, but we're still listening with the filter of our beliefs and the filter of our experience and the noise that is inside our heads.
Yes.
Those meditation commentaries are very, very helpful. What's the question?
In what sense?
Because when you get us in that state, it's as if we can open and read. So what would you say to the readers when they're about to read your book? Put all your beliefs aside, read what I'm about to offer. Just dive into it. What would you say to all of us when we pick up the next book?
Well, the first thing is, and it's in this book, is don't just believe it. You know, it's so easy. The habit is to take information and just believe, and then it's finished now. What's for dinner? When we make having tea, and so you have to use it and see where it's pointing within you, and go there for yourself. You know, that's really what the book is about. And what it's also going to do is challenge you. It's going to say things which are in contrary to the beliefs or your experience right now. So it's going to press your buttons. And so that's when some people just throw the book away, and that's okay. They're not ready. That's all it is. It's just readiness. I'm not ready to look at that. I'm not ready to explore that for myself. Other people go, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, and they'll go and talk to someone about it, and they'll have a conversation. And that conversation will be their way of opening themselves up to see something deeper within them. Other people go and sit with it silently and just use one idea and meditate. Everyone will do something different with it. I don't know what they're doing, but if it is generating conversations, fantastic. Because that's really how I've woken up most, is in conversations with others.
So in the aspect of waking up, challenging my ideas, thinking about it is good. But the way you describe love, the way you describe consciousness is very much experiential.
Yeah.
And that's why I was thinking, actually, all your books should be...
Experiential. Thank you very much. In other words, you're saying all the books are not experiential. Thanks, Mike.
No.
but they're not experiential
No,
enough.
that's not what I'm saying. Because it's not our natural, at the moment, it's not our
Yeah.
natural state to read something and to go into inner reflection. As
sure,
you say, we
sure.
read, we might say, yeah, I understand, I don't understand.
Yeah.
And then if it goes on for too many pages, the I don't understand, it's true.
Yeah.
We put it aside and we say, maybe I'll get to that later.
Yeah.
If there's no ego, we might say,
Yeah.
I'll keep it. If there
Yeah.
is ego, we might say, never again, right?
Yeah.
Another question that I had for you. Let's say that some of us are inspired now to start writing and to start not only going to the journey of awakening our consciousness, but maybe start to write, because there is an element about writing that you hear what you know, as you said. Now, how do you trust what comes? How do you know, what can you trust? When you start writing, you say, okay, is that clear? Is that what I really mean? Like, how do you know that you can trust what comes?
You can't.
You can.
Don't try.
Don't try.
Just let it come. And as you know, most writers will tell you when they start writing, it's nonsense. When they read it back, it's nonsense. I don't get this. Did I really write that? It doesn't make sense now, or else it's corny.
That's true.
Or it's not well structured, or it's not very wow. Especially if you come back to it a week later. And so that's a natural part of the process of bringing from inside out. And so you ask most writers, and they'll tell you that you have to get the rubbish out first.
Okay.
And it's a process of refining. And then it's like riding a bike. It's like practicing. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes. Because it's an activity, it's an action. And any action, if you do it over and over again, becomes more refined, becomes easier, becomes a part of you. It's called unconscious competence. So you...
Unconscious competence.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you begin with unconscious incompetence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you move to unconscious competence. Is that right? No.
And
Conscious uncompetence.
Yeah.
You realize what you're not very good at.
Yeah.
And then you practice it, and it becomes natural. It becomes a competence that is just you're unconscious of. You just do it naturally, like driving a car. And so that is the process for everything active, really.
Well, that's very interesting to know. And you trust that the truth is within, and it just needs to be...
No. The truth is within, but the truth cannot be captured in words. Only pointed at.
Okay.
You point at it, but you don't capture it. And that's a realization any spiritual writer will tell you they have at some stage. Anyone writing about spiritual consciousness things, they'll say you don't capture in words. As soon as you think the truth is in words, then you have religion, basically.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because you're saying, I believe this is true. But it's not. The truth is not something that is defined by anything physical, if that makes sense.
Very much so. Very much so, right. So thank you
Thanks,
very
Izzy.
much.
Thanks again. Thank you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for coming. Thank you.